What is up, my friends? Jess here with Just Man Sports Cards. Today we're going to go over record-breaking prices on Michael Jordan cards. All these sales happened in the last 30 days. We'll run through the cards, the new prices, some of the pop reports, and let's just get right into it. First up is Noyz Boyz, incredibly beautiful card. Jordan in a black jersey, which you don't always get. So here's the chart. It's sold on September 23rd. So that's about a month ago, exactly. So we'll go oldest to newest sales. Basically, the card hit 7,100, and this is for a PSA 8. This is not a PSA 10. The card sold for roughly, that's 6-7 years ago, for 1,300. The pop across the board is pretty low, 131. Something I've been focusing more on is Jordan cards with populations of under 100 or under 300. So you can see 9 will set you back about 10K, and a PSA 10 will set you back about 40K. Incredible sales, incredible cards. There's Iverson, a lot of other players in the set. So if you can't afford the Jordan, maybe you can afford something else. Here's a higher population card. Jordan 10s just seem to be doing very, very well across the board. 93 inside out. These boxes have gotten expensive, so finding cards that will actually gem are getting tougher. It is a higher pop, 48 for a pop 10, 3,600. It had been trending more around $2,000 to 2,500 over the last year or 2 years. Broke out here. I have a feeling it might come down. What does everyone think? Is it going to stay there or go higher? Basically, 5 years ago, you could have had this card for under 200 bucks. That would be quite the flip. 200 into 3,600. Yeah, these just, it was always considered kind of a high pop card, and you can see in a 9, it's 100 bucks, and there's 300 of those. Total population of 2,600 in PSA. Now we get into a more iconic card, the Slam Cam PSA 10 Jordan. The other big card in this set is the Shaquille. It's mainly big men, but Jordan, I think Alonzo Mourning, I forget who else is in it. PSA 10, pop 17, and it just did 25K. This has always been kind of an expensive card. About a year ago, you could have had it for half that. So that would have been quite the buy and flip there. And then 4 years ago, you could have had it for $3,000, which is pretty nuts. I have a pretty good friend that was wanting to sell me his raw copy. I probably should have done it, although I think it was about 2 to 3 years ago I was talking about it. So PSA 9, the sales have kind of been a little flatter over the last couple years, but 6 years ago you could have got it for much cheaper. Total pop of 224. So again, something I've been focusing on is Jordan cards with total pops under 300 seem to be really taking off, and I think that you should maybe focus on that if you can find the right cards. Quick Strike, PSA 10. This has a little dot on it. You typically get chipping around the bottom and side, and there's typically always these little dots all the way throughout the card. They're going to be fogging around the eye. It's a pretty hard card to get a clean copy of. Pop 19. This one really took off, 9K, almost exactly a year ago, and it more than doubled. It almost tripled, 23K. And the crazy thing on this is, what is that? We'll do 5 years ago, you could have gotten it for $1,000, and now it's going for 23. That $1,000 5 years ago in Jordan, and now it's 23 grand. Is crazy. I don't know if it's going to stay that high. That seems like a little too big of a jump in a year. So I'm going to predict that one comes back down. Maybe does 12 to 15. We'll see. Total pop of 314. So you can tell there's not a lot of these floating out there. 9s are still pretty affordable, and they've floated around. Recently one popped $1,400. That might have been after the PSA 10 sale, but been able to get a copy of under $1,000. I do own a copy. I think I paid around $900 to $1,000 for my copy. Just to be transparent, high voltage 500. So these are numbered out of 500. The numbering's on the back. You want to make sure the numbering's there for the legit copy as a base version. But this kind of has the mosaic. I'm not sure what else pattern on top of it. These have started to become really collectible. Duncan, this is one of his most popular rookie cards because it is in his rookie year. Jordan's the big one. Kobe's probably the second biggest one. And it just did 15.6K. We'll call it 15. And then 5 years ago, you could have got this for 4. This is going to take us to the Beckett population. Oh, also the PSA population. So the PSA population is 50. It seems like PSA is much rougher on these. So if I was buying this BGS 9, I would expect to cross it to about a PSA 8. And you can see the price kind of works that way. Is for Beckett, you get about a full grade less in price point. So the PSA 8s of this, yeah, they've fluctuated, but they're about 8, 9K. They peaked in 2001. It was kind of when the hobby peaked. So the last card, Maximum Metal, PSA 10. These are pretty cool cards. I own a raw copy of the John Stockton. I think that's the only copies that I own of any of these cards. It just went for 11K. PSA 10, Pop 26. Earlier this year, you could have got it for about 8K. Sold twice there. And then about a year ago, you could have got it for about 5.6. So more than doubled in a year. Go back 5 years, and you could have got it for under $1,000 and turned that into 11. So just seeing all this, a lot of my focus has been on, I've doubled down on Jordan and really focused. Hopefully we'll check out the population report real quick. And it's a Pop 180. I'm just seeing a trend here with Jordans with total populations of under 300. It just seems like they're going up and to the right. People are snatching up high grade copies, especially if you can get into the range where there's less than 100 of them. So in PSA 8 and above, you're talking about 130 copies roughly. That's not many copies floating around there for how many Jordan collectors there are. So just something to keep in mind, something I've been focused on. I'm going to be doing some content around Jordan cards with low pop, and that's part of what my channel is. Peace.